What is up, you horror nerds? It's me, it's your host, Jeremiah Duncan. I appreciate you coming again, because I have a wonderful classic horror movie that you A, need in your collection, B, need to watch if you haven't, and C, broke some ground that most slasher films haven't. I'm talking about 1979 Tourist Trap. Great film. I'm giving this a 6.5 out of 10. It kind of teeters up into the 7s because it's super fun. If you aren't familiar with it, you need to get familiar with it. An eerie and deserted wax museum, Slosson's Lost Oasis, is the site for the spine-tingling horror, where 4 unsuspecting young travelers, including Tanya Roberts from Charlie's Angels, are lured into a very deadly tourist trap. Slosson, played by Chuck Connors, is the reclusive and bizarre owner of this attraction, which is actually more like a macabre chamber of horrors. The grotesque and frightening mannequins in this sordid sideshow are only the beginning of the murderous mayhem and nightmarish madness to come. The thing that sets this one apart from most movies is it's a slasher. The writer-director David Schmoeller put this thing together, presents it to the ratings board, and they say PG. Squeeze me, baking powder? This movie is rated PG, which is fascinating to me. Being a horror movie, and he later would go on to talk about how he really feel like that's how it hurt it in the box office, because it was PG. If they had have done like Christine and said, oh, we got a PG-13 rating, we need to bump that up to R, let's throw in a couple F words, push it along the finish line, I think this thing would have been more successful in theaters. Great film regardless. Like I said, writer-director David Schmoeller. Big fan of the dude. Of course, he did The Puppet Master, the original one. He also did Silk Stockings. And I don't know about you, but when I was younger, I would be in my parents' or my grandparents' basement, and I would watch it. And it was Spanktervision for the young boys, because she's like putting the little hose on, and you're like, oh, it's about to get real. Silk Stockings, hilarious. And he also wrote Little Monsters. It was co-written by J. Larry Carroll, which if you aren't familiar with him, you should be, because he did the 72 The Hills Have Eyes, he did the 74 Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Then he went on to grow up and be a sci-fi nerd, and wrote for Stargate, SG-1, as well as Next Generation of Star Trek. This thing was shot in 24 days, and I think they had a $800,000 budget, which is pretty good sized budget, which they used because of the masks and all these things. The mask is, look at that, it's just pretty creepy. Made of plaster, and there's like a scene where it cracks and falls apart. He's dipping people in wax, because it really is a mix between Texas Chainsaw Massacre and House of Wax, and covering people in wax and killing them, and it's just fascinating. I mean, Stephen King even said in his semi-autobiography book, Dance Macabre, that this is a wonderful film. He even said it's most underrated and one of the greatest films that he shook him to his core. It's a great film. You are absolutely right, Mr. King. Tourist Trap, 1979. PG, who would have thunk it? 6.5 out of 10. Check it out. If you've seen it, comment below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. If you haven't, do it. What are you waiting for? That's why we're here. I'm giving you movie suggestions. Roll the dice. Join us. Like, subscribe, hit the death bell. You know the drill. I appreciate you. Keep following, keep sharing, keep building this community. Let's keep talking about movies. I appreciate you all.